Hey, what's up guys? It's Coach Karina. I have to say I am super excited about these exercises for you for week 4 of multisegmental flexion. We are working on a pattern with these exercises that actually works a whole lot more than the flexion pattern. These work really well to help with squat mechanics, balance, stability, kind of all through scapula, trunk, and pelvis, which is, we always say that control is one of the more important things that we can give our athletes. So the cool thing is we get a lot of bang for our buck here, way more than just multisegmental flexion, but we're doing it in the flexion pattern because there's specific parts of our flexion control system that we can really train well with these chops and lifts. So you could do these in a lot of different positions. We're gonna start them in kneeling today. You can move them to a split stance and a square stance, and it totally changes the experience with the exercise. For now, we're gonna do partners tubing version. So we're gonna have partner 1 who is the rock, the stability and the anchor point for the tubing. Partner 2 will actually be chopping and lifting. So let me show you how we're gonna walk through that. So if I'm partner 1, I'm gonna hold the tubing in my left hand, right in front of my left shoulder. Okay, so the tubing is pulling behind me. It's pulling me into extension and rotation because I'm holding it with this one hand. So my anterior sling, my flexion system, all those muscles that flex or round the body have to work so that I don't extend. Okay, so we're not actually flexing, we're just resisting extension, which functionally amounts to the same thing. So the hand is here, right in front of my left shoulder. My abs are on, my legs are stable. I've got my feet about shoulder width apart in a square stance. You could also stagger the stance if it seems like there's any issue with balance when someone's in a square stance. Staggered stance, when the resistance is pulling me back, having one foot in front of the other really stabilizes my base. And if that looks good and you feel like you want a little bit extra, then you go ahead and square up the stance. So I'm looking straight ahead. I'm holding this into my left hand. My partner is behind me. So, because I don't have a partner right now, I'm moving my tubing. And I'm just fixing mine up overhead, which is going to amount to the same thing. Basically, at the partner that is moving is going to be down here. So that's my partner. She's facing that way. Okay, she's got the tubing in her left hand. While she's got the tubing in her left hand, I'm going to chop to my left. That means I'm going to kneel on my left side. Right leg is up. We're going to pull down toward the down leg. So my tubing has this great foam pad. At the end here, this is a Grey Cook or FMT band. Regular resistance band, just hold the handle at the end in one hand and grab the band about shoulder width apart. So you've got that solid handle. Your hands are going to stay about shoulder width apart on the band. Essentially what's going to happen, my band's a little bit too long for me for right now, but what's going to happen is you're going to start with your arms up overhead and you're turned your chest toward your front leg. So you're starting here like this. There needs to be a bit of tension on the band here. So maybe the partner scoots away if the band's a little long. So we're here like this. We pull the band in towards the chest and press down toward the floor. You'll notice that I'm turning my chest and I'm not side bending or rounding forward. Again, I am using my anterior sling to pull and the flexion synergy to pull my body across. So it goes from arms overhead, in towards the chest, and push on straight down. Pull the band into the chest, turn, and push down. There's good control as I pull down, and I'm resisting so in the eccentric phase, we're coming back up nice and slow, resisting that tubing, which is pulling us back up quickly. So partner 1 gets to work on standing stabilization and an isometric hold in the left hand as I'm chopping to my left. You work on it for a minute. Then this partner who's chopping just turns around and chops to the other side to get their right side. Again, always, so the right leg would be down in that case. If I'm chopping to my right, I chop down to the right leg. Of course, the partner that's holding the tubing just switches it into their right hand so they get to work on the sling on the other side. But their role is the same. Hold the tubing nice and solid. If you want to do 2 hands on the tubing, that's fine. It's still over one shoulder, so we still have that asymmetric load. So that's chops. All right, and so the opposite of a chop is a lift, and you're doing the same pattern, but instead of the tubing coming down from overhead, it's gonna start low to the ground, and you're gonna push it up overhead. So partner 1, again, is our rock. They're gonna do plank, holding onto the tubing. So basically, if you can put your hand through the handle on the end, that's the most stable way to do it. So my partner's over there using our tubing. I've got my hand on the floor. my band, the tubing's gonna get pulled over that direction, and I'm solid in plank with the band pulling my left arm off while she's chopping or lifting to her left. And then of course I switch to my right hand while she chops to her right. That way both the base and the lifter get work on both sides. In this plank that we're using here, this is flexion, multi-segmental flexion month. What we're gonna focus on is the flexion of the lower trunk during plank. That means any kind of sagging in the back that happens when you come up to high plank cannot continue. So what we're gonna do is start on hands and knees, arch, round, arch, neutral, then maybe go a little bit past neutral into more of a flexed position, slide the leg out, slide the other leg out, and maintain that. The glutes are on, the abs are on. Any type of dipping that we see with this plank, we can't let that continue. We have to focus on the flexion. So it should feel extra, it might even feel different, extra difficult, maybe a little bit of an extra challenge in the lower abs. Folks might say, well, I can't hold it very long if I do it that way. But that's how it needs to be done in order to, number one, protect your lower back. Number two, retrain those flexion groups, the abs primarily, to resist the extension imposed by gravity. So again, we're not necessarily always rounding and flexing when we're working on the flexion pattern. We're resisting extension. Gravity is pushing really hard onto that spine, trying to push you into extension. You've got to fight it. And if having the hands and the feet on the ground is too much, the knees can be on the ground. You can do this in different positions. You could even, with this exercise, I'm putting your hands on the floor because I need there to be an anchor on the floor. If that plank with that solid positioning is not working, you can move it to the quadruped. So they can be on their hands and knees, still holding, say this partner here is still holding onto this tubing, still being a great rock for her partner. Maybe she's here and working on that flexion pattern. She could maybe kick a leg out behind her and work on that flexion pattern. So there's a lot of different ways that you as a coach can adjust this and make this a good, appropriate challenge for the flexion pattern. So again, just bringing extra attention into that area. Don't let bad planks continue. So partner one is holding the band on the ground. Partner two is going to lift it. So my partner's over here. She's got the tubing around her right hand. We got to make sure that we switch the position to hold the plank. She's going to hold on her right hand while I lift to the right, and then we'll both switch to the left hand side, simply because we want to make the load, the asymmetry, a little bit on the right and a little bit on the left for the planker as well as the lifter. So in the lift, we're standing on our knees. I'm going to bring my right leg forward. In the chop, we pull down to the down leg. In the lift, we're going to pull up to the up leg. So this is my up leg. My right leg is forward. I'm chopping to my right. Partner one has her right hand in the tubing. So again, I'm holding onto my handle at the end here. I start with this down low by my down leg. I pull it in towards my chest and I press it up over my head. My trunk stays neutral. I spin about the axis of my spine. I'm not bending or twisting. I am twisting. I'm not side bending or rounding in order to make this movement happen. Hardest part for me in this exercise, as I get up to the top, this tubing is pulling my left hand down toward its anchor really hard. Hardest part for me is maintaining that tall posture here. I really kind of want to waver like this, or I want to overcompensate and round this way to fight that. So keeping the posture up tall and as you rotate and push toward that top leg is the biggest part of the challenge in my body. What's the biggest part in your body? So again, we're just going to lift, and then we can of course control it on the way back down. The other thing as coaches that you can do is really kind of help with this front leg. It's going to want to wibble in, wobble, wiggle in and out. And if you can get your hands on there and kind of help stabilize that, give a little, as your athlete is rotating toward that leg, the tendency might be for it to cave in, or for them to want to like lean their foot out a ways. So if the knee is not stacked right over the ankle, again, that reactive neuromuscular training, put a hand on the inside of the knee, say push into my hand, that turns on that inner thigh so that she can stabilize. It helps to kind of integrate that system that they're calling on during that lift. So really cool thing here like I said before, is that we're not actually rounding and flexing the spine, but we're using the system that resists extension and rotation, which allows us to really integrate this control into athletic movement. We don't really care if we can move forward and back doing sit-ups. That's a nice way to strengthen this one muscle. Maybe a little bit of the hip flexors too, right? So that's one way to strengthen one muscle. But here we're integrating strength of a lot of muscles, which is the definition of true stability. So have fun with your chops and lifts. I know that I'm asking a lot this week. Basically, each partner needs a minute chopping to the right, chopping to the left, lifting to the right, and lifting to the left. If you did that with really great transitions, that would be 4 minutes per person. So 4 minutes per partner, maybe a total of 10 minutes. I realize that there's not that much time in your workouts. So if you're able to do maybe chops on Monday, lifts on Tuesday, something like that, that may be a good way to work it into the workout. Also, these don't have to be in the warm-up. You could add this onto around mid-workout. If you've got the tubing out for other stuff, if you're already in partners for other stuff, it doesn't have to be a minute total, but I think the minute of repetition with that will allow the girls to learn the movement that we're trying to get at, and then we can build on it later. Like I said, you can do these standing, the split stance, square stance. There's all different kinds of ways that you can incorporate chops and lifts, and there's a lot of really good control that comes from them. So I hope you enjoy it. As always, hit me up with questions. Let me know what's going on. Have a great week.